DC have a very interesting film series because they've never really been able to sort of portray a character story in the best light, especially in this modern day. We've had recent iterations with Nolan's Batman, but now with this brand new version, The Batman, has it actually performed any better? And what do I think? Let's jump into it. As a bit of a heads up, I know that this video is coming out fairly soon to when the actual film has been released, so I'm going to try not to add any spoilers. So this is your no spoiler wanted review, just so that you guys can enjoy the film within your own time and also sort of understand how I feel about it. The Batman has been a very long-awaited entry into this DC superhero franchise series, and to be honest, I really did enjoy it. It's not going to be a standardized Batman film. It may not be palatable for every single audience member that goes to watch it, but for huge fans, or maybe even fans that haven't seen the Batman story before, it gives us sort of new taste to what it means for the Batman character. The film itself doesn't feature any of the characters from Nolan's franchise, neither does it feature the character that Ben Affleck played in his Batman iteration. We get a brand new person, obviously being Robert Pattinson, the guy from the Twilight series, and we see how it progresses in a sort of neo-noir detective style film instead of being a sort of generalistic superhero film. I think adding that twist of it being a sort of 3-hour length detective film sort of changes the tonalities associated with a Batman character, because it's not a superhero film. You've not got people flying around buildings, you've not got them sort of shooting gadgets everywhere. It's a very sort of refined and simplistic version of the character, which sort of changes things a little bit. We're very used to having superheroes that do all these ridiculous things, massive superheroes that have extraordinary powers and extraordinary money and backing. And Bruce Wayne's character in this film is very different. Robert Pattinson, I think, obviously wanted to play it in his own sort of way, but the way that the story is also written actually goes hand in hand in his actual tonality and also body shape and structure. The film gives me sort of steampunk vibes, especially with the Batmobile and also the costume that Robert Pattinson wears. It changes it completely, and I like this sort of nice nostalgic refresh. If you've followed the franchise before, you will of course know certain characters like Alfred and the Batman obviously being Bruce Wayne, and also the inclusion of people like Catwoman. And I think there is a number of different characters in this story that really aid and abet the narrative arc and really help structure things and propel things forward. But at the same time, I think it also limits the story. Because there are so many different characters from so many different arcs, you're trying to follow all these different narrative lines and stories and everything, I think in some way it gets a little bit too complex. And especially with people like the Penguin, I would have liked to hear a little bit more of his story. I am fully aware, and I hold my hands up and know that there will probably be a Catwoman film coming out, or a series, a spin-off series for Catwoman, and also for people like the Penguin, but that doesn't really cease to stop the story being progressed in the actual film itself. I understand that it's an age of streaming, but these character arcs are really important, and I would have liked to see maybe not as many characters involved. It's a 3-hour film, I know that there's a lot to cover, but I think it just needed to be refined a little bit more. The narrative is great. It gives us an introduction into his story. It doesn't necessarily give us a sort of origin story that we would see in Batman Begins and also the death of the parents, but I think that because we've already seen that so many times, the writers and also the director felt like we didn't need to see that in this film, because, I mean, we already know what happens. It's like the Tom Holland's inclusion into the sort of Spider-Man franchise. We don't need to see his origins again. There's no point trying to explain it, so we save a little bit more on that runtime. Then we actually see him progress, become the Batman, fight back for the city, sort of trying to solve this case against the Riddler. And it actually works really well. I really enjoy the Riddler, his character, and the guy that plays him, just gives me the vibes. He's so creepy, he's so strange, and his actual visual imagery, the way he decides to plan and really mess with the people of Gotham City works exceptionally well, and I really liked his inclusion into the storyline. I obviously know that the Riddler character is huge in the Batman franchise, but there are also other characters. Like I said, we've got Penguin and also another character that you need to sort of stick around to the end of the film to watch, because I'm not going to spoil that for you. But actually the inclusion of that character being off screen and only hearing that person, I don't know how I felt about that. I would have liked to visually see that character, but I mean, that's the decision that the studio's made, so we'll have to see how that goes forward into the future. I think narrative-wise, as I mentioned, I keep going back to it, it's a good narrative, it's a good arc, it's a good sort of progressive story for Batman's character, and gives us a new sort of inclusion of what it means to be Batman. Visually, I absolutely love the film. As I mentioned, it's a steampunk neo-noir vibe, and you get that throughout the film. The Batman suit itself isn't necessarily high-tech. It is high-tech-ish, but it's not going to be like Ben Affleck's suit. It's not going to have all these different gadgets and stuff. He even jumps off a building and has to use a parachute. Like, he's not living in the 21st century, which is very, very interesting. The sort of subversion inclusion of this high-tech sort of using mobile phones and all that sort of stuff alongside the sort of castle that he lives in. It's really, really great, and I really like the merge and amalgamation of that. The actual visuals, the way it's shot, I just can't get over it. It looks like a great film, and if you enjoy your cinematography, your mise-en-scène, then you're not going to be disappointed, and you will really, really enjoy this film. I don't know what else I can really say about this film. I really did enjoy it, but then there's also some pitfalls in terms of duration and also extending the sort of universe a little bit too wide in my eyes. If you guys have seen the film, I would really love to know your opinions and thoughts, because quite a lot of people have given me shared views, really. Loads of people have enjoyed the film, but then they're also sort of highlighting that maybe it was a little bit too long. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, because I'd love to hear you. That has been all for today's video. If you liked this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, and fingers crossed I will see you in a video coming up very, very soon. That's been all from me for today. I'll see you then. Peace.